Hi, I'm Daryl Reeves, and if you're listening to me for the first time, then well done. Not sure how you found me. I'd love you to tell me in the comments of the video if that's a possibility, but and even like and share the video if you do enjoy it. Today I want to talk about January. We're in the month of January right now. Many people will have said goodbye to the old year and in some sort of celebratory way and welcomed in the new year with some celebrations. Others might have made New Year's resolutions. So we're looking forward to, as best we can, to something that's perhaps better than what we had before. And I'm reminded of the ancient Roman Empire's mythical character named Janus, or Janus, I think it's Janus, who in statue form was represented by a head kind of cut down the middle and another head cut down the middle, and they're sort of stitched back to back. So you've got this head that looks forwards and the head that looks backwards, a head that faces both directions simultaneously. And it was from Janus, the mythical Roman character, that we derived our name for the month of January. And so it's very much a time when we are looking forward, but we're also looking back. We're looking at the things that happened that we perhaps liked and the things that happened that we would like to try and avoid or not repeat. And a lot of people are doing that right now as they go into the new year. It's a time when, we're saying goodbye. It's a time of ends, and it's a time of beginnings, things that are new. I guess in a simple word, it's a time of transition. It's also a time of duality where we've got two frames of mind. We're not perhaps fully focused on what's ahead, but we're still maybe hurting from the past, and having come out of the pandemic, well, supposedly, at least out of the lockdowns, and having suffered there as many hundreds of thousands and perhaps millions of people around the world have done, it's not a given that there'll be no future negative impacts. Struggling to find the right word then for a minute. It's not a given there'll be no negative impacts. In fact, as a business person, I certainly see plenty of potentially forthcoming negative impacts, and I'll be doing what I can with my limited knowledge and understanding to avoid those, as I'm sure you will be also. So as we simultaneously consider our past and our future in the month of January, or whenever you happen to be listening to this, because we as human beings, any month of the year we can look back and look forward, and we tend to. But January is a particularly potent month for doing exactly that. We face our future with the attitudes that are a part of who we are. And I'll do a talk on it sometime, but just as a quick inside summary, attitudes are habits of the mind, is the way I like to express it and how I see them. So we have attitudes that are built up in us through conditioning, through our cultural experiences, through our friends and family and upbringing, and all these things form particular disciplines and habits in our mind that either help us or hinder us going forward. And so in two very simplistic terms, there's those people that see an opportunity and think, oh, I couldn't do that. And there's those people that see an opportunity and think, let's do it. and there's everybody in between, I guess, as well. So broadly speaking, you fall into one of those categories. And if you fall into, I could never do that category, well, maybe this talk will really help you. And if you fall into the category of, let's do it, then maybe this will urge you and inspire you even further to get going with your dreams. Now, as human beings, we're cybernetic creatures. Now, that means that we are continually reaching for something that we don't have in the moment, whether it's getting more comfortable in our chair, whether it's getting a hot drink or a cold drink, or whether it's making some dinner. We're constantly visualizing the future, and this is very unique about us as people, and not just on simple little everyday matters, but whether it comes to much greater things like our relationships, our careers, and our futures. And we spend many years, most people, certainly in developed countries, many years studying and learning to do things that are all in the future. And we learn to prepare for the future, and we save money for the future. And on another occasion too, I'll talk about sacrifice, how it's a part of creating our future. Without sacrifice, there can be no future. If you don't sacrifice and stop playing around after school and just neglect your homework, and then you go to university and you don't do your studies and your research, then you're not sacrificing for your future. Well, the chances of you having a great future are somewhat minimized, if not drastically minimized. And if you don't put some things aside for the future, then maybe in the future you won't have something that you need, unless you got a family trust account, or somebody, you're lucky enough to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth, which very few were. So historically, it's the first type of person, the I can do it, I want to do it, at least I want to try, let's just do it, as the Nike slogan goes. They're the people that make the most positive impact in the world. So if it's in your heart in any way, shape or form, or on your mind in any way, shape or form, to have a positive impact in the world and to make a positive difference, maybe bring about change. We can't all be, at the level of Elon Musk. In fact, I don't really know anybody else that's at his level, but over time there's been people that have been at that level, and I'm very grateful for them. People like Galileo, who was the inventor of the telescope, and really the first astronomer that really understood what was going on to some degree in the universe. And of course he was badly treated by the religious organization of the day, who didn't like what he had to say, because it went contrawise to their narrative. And I haven't done my research on him too much lately to refresh my mind, but I'm pretty sure that they killed him for inventing this devilish device called a telescope, which enabled him to look more closely at the future. And then you got people like Christopher Columbus, who's accredited by some with having proven that the Earth wasn't flat, and sailing off and not falling off the edge, and discovering new lands in the process. There's so many people that are the positive people that look at a future that they want and say, I can do this. Let's do it. Let's go for it now. Let's pay the price. There might be sacrifice involved, like Winston Churchill, who was a huge influence on stopping the Nazis from taking over the world. And I remember my mum telling me as a kid growing up that her and her family used to huddle around the radio after dinner at night in London and listen to Winston Churchill, giving his speeches. We'll fight them on the beaches, we'll never surrender, etc. And all these very inspiring talks that kept the British people filled with hope at a time when there was terrible reasons to lose hope. In fact, my own mum, who one evening heard the sirens that the German bombers were coming over London, and so her and the family rushed down to the local bomb shelter, ended up staying the night down there, and when they came up in the morning, her house had been razed to the ground. There was no house. Can you imagine the impact of that on a young girl's life? She was, not long after that, evacuated out of London along with a lot of other children, and ended up living in a safer space in more countrified England. She got very lucky, and she was given an opportunity to stay at a beautiful farm, And so Winston Churchill, he changed the future because he saw a better future. He didn't look at the past and throw his hands in the air and give up in despair. And not everybody's got the resolve of Winston Churchill. In fact, very few. But they're out there, and you might not be at that end of the spectrum, but you certainly don't have to be looking back all the time and filled with negativity and despair about the possibilities of yourself for the future. There is a way to improve on your current experience. There is a better future for you. You just have to lay hold of it. And this is one of the unique things about human beings, is that we have the capacity to not only dream about a better future, but plan for a better future and engage with other people of a similar mind or a similar spirit who want to help us to create that better future. And somewhere, someplace, there's people that want to help you create your better future and fulfill your dreams. And I'll give you some tools today about how to go about engaging with such people, meeting such people in the first place. You've got people like Steve Jobs, who revolutionized the world. It wasn't very many years ago that he invented the smartphone, and now everybody, in the developed world's got one or more smartphones, and we've got more computing power in our pocket now than they had in the computer that sent the Apollo to the moon and the men that landed on the moon. That they don't have the same computing power that we've got in our pockets in a smartphone these days. And then you've got guys like Elon Musk that wants to go to the moon again, and he's inventing driverless cars and battery operated cars and all the rest of it. The boring company that's boring tunnels under congested cities. So there are people in the world that are making a difference, that have made a difference, and you and I, we might be small fry at the other end of the spectrum, but it doesn't stop us reaching out for more. And look, the negative folk of the world, sometimes they have the loudest voices. They whinge and they cry, and they bemoan the situation, and they run around with their negative speak. But I'm not quite sure that, or convinced that they really make much difference that humanity wants. You got the, forgive me if I'm treading on your toes here, but you got the Greta Thunbergs of the world and the Al Gores of the world that have been predicting the doom of the world. Al Gore's been predicting it for decades, and a lot of his predictions are far from, from coming true in the time frame that he's predicted that they would come true. Antarctica was going to melt, and the Arctic was going to melt, and the sea levels were going to rise, and cities were going to be drowned, and all these stuff. These guys run around the world, whinging about their situation, but other people out there, like Elon Musk and so many others, are actually doing something about it. I want to be in the class of people that's not whinging about the problem, but doing something positive about the problem in my own maybe small way. And one of the big keys, in my view, to going forward in this new year, as you consider the month of January, or whatever month you happen to listen to this and do it, to consider, going forward, it is part of your nature to look back, like Janus, the mythical Roman character, the two faces on a head that looks forward and backwards. We have the capacity to look back, and we do need to look back, but we don't need to spend more time and energy looking back than we are looking forward. We really need to engage with a positive view of the future, with an image of our future that is something that we really desire. And we have to listen to the voice within ourselves. For religious people, especially for Christians, that I grew up in the Judeo-Christian religion and faith, and we were taught that Christ lived within us. That Spirit of Christ, in actual fact, in the Gospel of St. John, in the very first chapter, Jesus, John the Apostle, talks about the light that is in every person that is born on the planet. It's born within us, and then it gets buried through conditioning and through, bad decision making and all sorts of stuff. And for me, we need to be literally made awake, or born again, as the Christian message goes, to be awake to the Christ Spirit, the energy, the life force that's within every human being on the planet. For so many, it's become almost redundant, and it's working, at an unconscious level on autopilot, keeping your heart pumping and your liver cleaning your blood and so on and so on, all those functions that you just take for granted every single day. But you can tap into the inner tutor, the inner wisdom of God within yourself, the life force within yourself. If you're an atheist and you don't believe in God and you don't believe in Christ, that's fine with me. Knock yourself out. You've got to ask yourself, how's it working for you at the end of the day? Because I'm a pragmatist, not a theorist at the end of the day. But whatever you want to call it, that wisdom within yourself, that inner tutor, we all believe in intuition. And intuition is made up of two words meaning inner and tutor. And we've all got an inner tutor. Some people loosely refer to it as our conscience. Well, it's a lot more than our conscience, and our consciences can be conditioned and not necessarily in a good way. So conscience may be good, but at times it can be, literally a pain in the butt as well, and sometimes needs to be ignored. But the inner tutor in us, the inner teacher, the inner guide, the inner life within us is something that we need to cultivate. And whether you do that through prayer or meditation or fasting or however you do it, time alone, you need to make that time for yourself on a regular basis, preferably on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be for long periods of time. Not that there's a problem if it is, but it doesn't need to be. But it does need to be regular. You don't need to spend a long time in the shower and a long time brushing your teeth and all these other hygienic things, but you do need to spend some time doing it. And if you don't, then you start to decay, and you start to smell bad. And the same thing happens in the inner life. I think it was a guy by the name of Zig Ziglar many years ago. I think he's passed on now. But Zig Ziglar, who said, we need to take a checkup from the neck up. And, he reduced it to a mental thing. But it's even more than a mental thing. It incorporates the emotions and the gut brain, not just the head brain. We know now that there's a lot of neurons in our gut tract, and a lot of them. And it gives us wisdom and gives us nudges and gives us all kinds of things that can be life-saving, like the fight and flight mechanism that just goes off. Where do you feel it? You feel it in your gut, in that brain, in those brain cells that are resident in your gut tract. So we need to get in touch with our inner tutor, our intuition, which is not to say we just should throw our brain away, our logic away, our thinking away, our planning away, our strategizing. Not at all. It's I would hate to be without my left hand and just have one hand like some people do. I'm glad I've got two hands, because there's some things I need to do in life that can only be done with two hands. And there's a lot of things in life that can only be done with the utilization of our mental capacities and our, for want of a better word, metaphysical, meta-mental or spiritual capacities, or the inner tutor, the intuition capacity. So whatever you want to call it, and I'm not here to, stand on a soapbox and bang on about any particular religious or irreligious or non-religious points of view. I don't care about that. I care about getting outcomes. I care about leaving something behind that is useful for you to tap into, that you can tune into and take advantage of, and that enhances your life and your experience. And let me tell you, when you back your intuition and you back your best thinking together, hand in hand, left hand and right hand together, and it doesn't work out, hey, it's part of the learning process. It's how life works. We wouldn't be where we are today as a human species with all the modern conveniences and air travel and so on, invented by the Wright brothers, well, not invented, but successfully demonstrated by the Wright brothers, if hundreds of people before the Wright brothers hadn't crashed and burned trying to inspire somebody to get it right. How many people tried to launch a project before someone else came along and finally launched that project? As human beings, we have to be willing to fail. And it's in being willing to fail. If you've ever sat and watched a spider build a web, you know how many times she'll swing out towards the other side that she wants to hitch that, silk thread to, and fall away from it until finally gets a connection and builds it. And it takes a lot of time and effort and determination. It might just be instinct in spiders. It might be something they consciously know. I couldn't tell you because I'm not inside the brain. But we need to be willing to fail, and we need to get up again and go again when we do fail, because failure is not a disgrace. Quitting is a disgrace. Giving up on yourself is a disgrace. There is nothing great to be said about quitting and giving up when you're chasing a valid dream, a good dream, a dream to do something good, a plan to do something good, a desire to make a positive difference. There's nothing good about quitting on that. And let me tell you, if you were a prize boxer and you were going in the ring to win a fight, for all the hubris and the bravado and the talk that these guys put out into the media, at the end of the day, they don't go in there knowing that it's a 1-round fight. They go in there knowing it's a 15-round fight. And the fight isn't over until someone gets knocked down, or the bell goes at the end of 15 rounds, and then the judges make a decision on who the winner was on points. So life is not even a 15-round fight. It's a fight until you win or quit. Those are your choices. Are you going to win, or are you going to quit? I think the old truism, phrase of winners never quit and quitters never win is relevant in this conversation right here, right now. If you want to win, you can't quit. You've just got to keep going. You've got to keep going right to the last bell. You're not playing a 15-round game in this thing called life. You're in it until you take your last breath. And, so many great accomplishments get blocked because of our negative attitudes or other people's negative attitudes that we let into our heart. I think, again, it was Jesus Christ who said, keep your heart carefully, because out of your heart comes all the important things of life. That intuition, that source of ideas, that source of courage, that source of inspiration. It comes from within yourself. For sure, you might listen to someone, you might listen to this and find that, it's inspiring. But at the end of the day, the decision is yours. The courage is yours. The energy is yours. The get up and go is yours. A lot of people's get up and go's gotten up and gone. Get yours back and start your journey again. And if you're already in a positive frame of mind and you're already swinging your punches right now towards, a winning round, then good for you. Take this as encouragement and go for it and stick with it. And if there's things you need to learn, if there's sacrifices you need to make, if there's a price you need to pay it, because back yourself and back your dream. And listen, I've counseled with hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of people in my life over my personal development experience and output, and I see so many people that won't make a start because it's not good enough. And listen, the accomplishments of many get blocked by the tyranny of the idea of perfection. Just make a start. Expect it not to be perfect. Know that it won't be perfect. And also know this, more importantly, perfection is not important when you're getting started. By all means, do some preparation, do enough preparation, but good enough is is better than nothing at all. Some achievement in a positive direction is better than no achievement at all, because you're sitting in the corner, sucking your thumb, feeling sorry for yourself, having a pity party of one, and feeling like, well, I'm not good enough, I can't do it. Look, get over it. Get on with it. Find somebody who'll be encouraging for you, and if you can't, go it alone, and keep it control and a guard of your heart, your inner self, because that's where the power comes from. It might be small, it might be like a little mustard seed of belief within yourself, but hang on to it, take care of it, plant it, take care of it and water it and let it grow, because the mustard seed, as tiny as it is, if you've ever seen one, they're really, really tiny, like the head of a pin, and yet they grow into this huge big tree that many, many birds can come and rest in and spend the night if they want to. So it's a huge, huge thing to guard your heart and protect that little mustard seed of belief within yourself, of belief in yourself, of belief of the greater energy and force and wisdom and power and inspiration that resides in every one of us. Trust in that. Believe me, you can do a lot more than you imagine you can do. We all can. And distance yourself from the doubters and the critics and the negative naysayers. Start finding, a couple of eagles that want to fly high. And if you can't find eagles, find some bird that wants to get off the ground at least. There are some birds, and I'm a New Zealander, and the nickname for New Zealanders is Kiwis, and the Kiwi bird can't fly. It just wanders around on the on the terra firma. And I love the Kiwi bird, but I don't want to be a Kiwi bird. I want to be an eagle that can fly and see new vistas, new horizons, and go to new places. And so do you, I'm sure, in your heart. Stop focusing on your ideals and perfection, and just take the next positive step in the right direction. Be a pragmatist, not just an idealist. Do anything at all to step forward in a positive way, an ethical way, of course. Do anything at all to reach and begin the journey for a better future for yourself, for your family, for your business. Do what it takes. Take the next step. Take the next step. Do the right thing. Hang around with good people. Lose the losers. Loser talk is just so cheap and easy to find these days. And this year is going to be challenging. I'm absolutely certain of it. Last year was challenging. The pandemic years were challenging, tumultuous, the lockdowns. Many of my friends, really struggled, lost businesses, and times were tumultuous and chaotic, and they're probably still going to be. But these are the times where, the tough get going. And you need to be tough, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And one thing I've found that really helps me a lot, and I do this every day in the shower, this is my practice, I practice gratitude. I take the short time that I'm in the shower to verbalize my gratitude for what I do have, for the things that are working for me. I don't whinge on and bang on about all the things that aren't working. I thank God that I've even got running water. There's a lot of people don't have running water. My wife grew up, as a youngster in Thailand. She never had running water. She never had electric lights. Had to go outside and collect rainwater to drink, and had to light candles to be able to see at night, and frequently slept in a haystack made from, the ends of rice in the nights in the field, and had to avoid on occasions wild tigers in the area and wild elephants in the area. Thank God for what you do have. Thank whatever you need to do. Be grateful for what you do have. not what you don't have, and reach for something more. It'll help you in every way. If you practice gratitude, it'll change your attitude, it'll change your focus, it'll change your health, it'll change your relationships. Grateful people are much happier people, and happier people are healthier people who have better relationships with people and get more of what they want in life. I hope you found some bits of inspiration in this talk. If you have and you like it, please just click the like button, share it with anybody, subscribe to this channel. I love your feedback, good, bad, or otherwise. I'm here to make a positive difference. Come and join me. Let's really do something great in this coming year for the world we live in. Thanks so much for listening. Bye now.